everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, aspiring author Jonathan Taylor. This video I'm about to actually filming right now, and will post soon enough, actually marks the 1-year anniversary of the first video I ever uploaded on YouTube. I actually uploaded it on June 23rd, but screw it, I'm gonna celebrate now. And in order to mark the occasion, I decided I would do another book review. A book review for An Accidental American Odyssey by Mark Budman. Why do I choose this review to be the 1-year anniversary video? Well, it's because I find that I have surprisingly a lot in common with Mr. Budman himself, and therefore reviewing his book is quite fitting. We both grew up in former Warsaw Pact nations. We both, and spent a lot of our formative years there. We both left for Western countries when we found out we could afford to do so, and a lot of our writings tackles similar ideas, tackles similar themes, or more precisely, one similar theme in particular, that of immigrants and immigration. And we also have a formal education in the same field, but that's beside the point. I will say there is one major difference in how Budman himself approaches the theme of immigration, namely that the stories he writes about this topic are about a specific set of migrant experiences. And yes, experiences plural, because this book is, it's not a novel, it's a collection of short stories, each of which tackle characters who are in similar positions, so to speak, and some of these characters even occur at least in more than one story. I won't go through each of these stories individually, because that would make this video of an ungodly length. Instead, I'm gonna just talk about this collection in general, and then highlight 4 stories in particular that I find to be the most noteworthy. But let's talk about the generalities first. Pretty much every story in this collection can be divided across 3 levels. The first level regards the moment-by-moment action. So what is actually going on in the text. And a lot of these stories focus on one or more particular instances or moments where immigrants find themselves confronted with something that changes their impressions of either themselves or their birth country or their new country. And then the rest of the story goes through how they try to deal with this new revelation they've had. Not all characters. Well, and that's one of the things I like about this story. Pretty much all characters are active, even though some of them are forced to react. They don't just stand there and take it. They make plans and they make things happen. And that is something I find very much enjoyable, and also very interesting in the ways that it actually gets carried out. But I won't go too deep into all of that. That is something I will leave up to you to find out. The second level on which each of these story operates is presentation. Some of the stories in this collection are somewhat dour and serious and deal with themes of struggle and basic survival. However, most of them are maybe not necessarily comedic, but they are less serious, have lower stakes, and are presented in a more surreal, almost a dreamlike state. Pretty much every event, every character, every discussion, and every thought that does get presented to the reader ends up either passing the reader by, passing through the reader, or passing over the reader to some extent, as though for haze, or as though the reader experiences everything from the other side of a curtain. This is also emphasized by more surreal aspects that Bodman introduces in the story, such as dreams, such as unusual comparisons, such as discussions about various topics from strange, sometimes inhuman perspectives, or outright supernatural occurrences that manifest throughout the book. Bodman is very playful when it comes to his delivery. He pretty much throws, he throws a lot of things and a lot of more bizarre facets of the world towards the reader. He and he knows that the kind of impression that creates, and he knows what kind of impression he is trying to inspire in the reader. He knows how to use it to emphasize the points he is trying to make. Speaking of that, the third level, and obviously the most profound, is that of themes. And the most pervasive theme of all of these stories is upheaval. For most characters, there is one major upheaval that causes several minor upheavals, which then forces them to become immigrants, or move away from the home they've known, from the country they've known, and they have to rely on themselves, probably more than they ever have in their entire life, and have to adjust themselves to new living conditions, and that changes the ways they see themselves and see the world. And their confrontations with their new reality causes a whole slew of other impressions. A sense of estrangement, for example, sense of wonder, sometimes. But however, I think the most distinct undercurrent that really permeates through all of these stories is resentment. The acknowledgement that something that is beyond the capabilities of normal people has screwed their lives over to a not an insignificant degree, and thereby leaving these characters with a pain and a loss they might never really recover from. Heir actually touches upon these topics pretty regularly in her own work, and while Bodman isn't really as elegant or as precise with the targets of his judgments or assessments as Heir, the fact that I can draw any kind of comparison between him and a Nobel Prize winner is quite amazing. Even if he is not as good, that's not an insult. He is still pretty freaking good at what he's talking about, and he knows how to handle these topics in a relatable and approachable way. And in order to demonstrate that, I'll now talk about the 4 stories that I find most noteworthy from this collection. The first one of these is Scarabaeus Simplex. It is a retelling of the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, and that is obvious from the elegantly reworked first sentence of the story. Unlike Kafka, however, Bodman uses the transformation of his main character for humor, thereby really showcasing his ability to employ differing perspectives in order to present new and engaging stories and subvert the reader's expectation. This story even ends in a strangely happy note, which is quite unusual for anything based on one of Kafka's work, who is well known for being just strangely sad. So yeah, overall quite a unique story to put in here. The second story I want to talk about is The Land of Dreams, The Garden of Insomnia. This story is about a janitor who works at the Lenin Mausoleum and is considering emigrating to the US. As he as he is getting his paperwork ready to immigrate to the U.S., he starts having dreams of Lenin, who is telling him that he will desert his country and desert his political ideals if he actually leaves his home. And I think this story, more than anything else, really highlights the plight of the little guy. The story of the people who the developments of history, or the larger currents of history, tend to screw over, and also highlighting what struggles they face and how they choose to face them. And yeah, therefore making it probably the most memorable story in this collection for me anyway. The first story I want to talk about, and which forms an interesting counterpoint to the second one, is Luchafarul. This is a story of a Romanian man who is who is scraping by in New York City, trying to make a living. He does get various work offers from people. However, each of these work offers he does in fact receive require him to sacrifice some part of his humanity, or of his upbringing, or of himself, in order to really be able to use that. And that is and most of these sacrifices are things he is not ready to do. He's not ready to do, and in fact is very much opposed to doing so. I think this story will be the most polarizing of the entire collection. Some people will find his struggle to retain his cultural identity and legacy relatable. Others will just find him to be some annoying weirdo who's obsessed with a poem they don't like, and which they might eventually end up resenting because of it. Me personally, I think he is a well-realized character with a unique struggle that is worthy of highlighting in a story collection such as this one. And also he brings a lot of nuance and depth to the topics this book is talking about. Given he is, if I'm not mistaken, the one main character who values his knowledge and education the most. The fourth and final story I want to talk about is Love and Faith in the Shadow of Lenin. Beneath the provocative title lies a prequel story to The Land of Dreams, The Garden of Insomnia. This prequel is focused on the janitor's wife, who becomes disillusioned with the life she had been leading to up until that point, and is searching for a sense of emotional independence and some greater meaning beyond the mundane life that she finds no longer suits her. I think the story provides a very interesting point for a very interesting presentation of the more mundane aspects of what it's like to live in the Soviet Union, and it also showcases how that change of perspectives, how that estrangement that I've been talking about can manifest even among people who aren't immigrants, thereby bringing this entire collection stronger together and making more approachable for a whole slew of potential readers. Overall, my overall impressions of this book are actually very good. This book touches upon a very rich array of topics and themes, and is very good at highlighting the struggles of people from the former Eastern Bloc who now have to find their way in a set of new regimes after the fall of after the beginning of the 90s, and when they find that the social structure they grew up in has gone awry, and they now have to rebuild in some way. However, it approaches these topics from very mundane points of view. thereby making and explores them with a surprising amount of thematic depth, personal warmth, and a very mature sense of self-awareness. I will admit that not all these stories are particularly memorable, but the ones that are memorable are very much so, and do very much speak to whoever ends up finding them to be particularly memorable. My final rating for An Accidental American Odyssey is a 4 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you very much for watching. And thank you very much for sticking with me over this past year. I've enjoyed myself making these videos, and I look forward to giving you more and better content as the next year rolls around. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. If you have anything you'd like to add, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when the next video comes out, then I suggest you go ahead and subscribe. Maybe also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. Until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.